So the Cleveland Browns are in quite a predicament right now, but it's both a good and a bad thing. After the news yesterday that Shedeur Sanders was indeed getting a contract and a real chance to be on this roster, the Browns now have 5 quarterbacks on the roster that they are paying. Those, of course, being Shedeur, Dillon Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco, and then also Deshaun Watson. So in this video, I want to be completely unbiased and I want to evaluate where each quarterback stands, what their chances to start, and I just want to be completely realistic because I know Shedeur gets all the hype and media attention, and I'm part of that problem. I've already made like 15 Shedeur videos, but as a lot of you guys know, I am a Browns fan, and I want to attack this video from the perspective of just the Browns and what I would do right now with this quarterback situation if I was a coach or a part of the front office. But before I do get into everything, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 60,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so I'm going to start off this video with the vets. Let's talk about Joe Flacco. He, of course, had a memorable stint with the Browns 2 years ago after we lost Deshaun Watson following that fourth quarter comeback win against the Ravens. That was such a Browns moment if I've ever seen one. That was honestly one of the biggest statement wins that I've gotten to witness in my lifetime, and the next morning I woke up to a tweet that Watson needed surgery and was done for the season. It was a punch in the gut to all Cleveland fans. But then the Browns, of course, signed Joe Flacco, and he just randomly came in and started flinging the football around, and he just caught fire and turned back the clock, putting up top 5 stats in the league for all quarterbacks in that 6-game stint. But unfortunately, everything fell apart in the wild card game at Houston. But all in all, the Joe Flacco stint was a massive success and was super unexpected. And now he was brought back in once again to bring a veteran presence to this quarterback room. He kind of struggled with consistency in Indianapolis, and at this point, I think the odds of another Flacco fever is low. I guess you never know, but at this point, I kind of just view Flacco as a safety valve and a vet that can teach the rookies how to succeed in this league. Because Flacco is a Super Bowl winning quarterback from his time in Baltimore, if you all remember. Now moving on, let's talk Kenny Pickett. Because I think a lot of people were surprised when Browns reporters came out with the news that he is going to open up OTAs and minicamp as the #1 starting guy, taking the first team reps. I don't think that is much of a surprise to me right now, but for the love of God, I do not want to see Kenny Pickett playing games in a Cleveland uniform on the field on Sundays. He just has no upside. We know what he is. He's not like the worst quarterback you'll ever see, but he is just so average, and I don't think there's any room for growth. When the Browns signed him, I thought they just made the signing to actually have a quarterback on the roster because they did not at the time, but now to me, that signing makes no sense. And he's not really a tradable asset. Nobody is going to want him. I think a quarterback room with Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, and Dillon Gabriel would have been just fine for 2025. 3 quarterbacks is definitely enough given that Watson is still on the roster, getting paid while he rehabs, unfortunately. But yeah, Kenny Pickett is going to open things up with first team reps, so let's take a look at some of his past numbers. Pickett's best season came in 2022 when he threw for 2,402 yards, but even in that season he only threw for 7 touchdowns and had 9 interceptions. A negative touchdown to interception ratio throughout a full season is just abysmal. I know the Steelers were and have been a run heavy team, but still, there is nothing exciting about those numbers, and the fact that those were his career best shows you all you need to know. In 2023, he threw for even less yards with 2,070, and that season, he only threw for 6 touchdowns and had 4 interceptions. But as I mentioned, according to a Browns insider, right now for Kenny Pickett, the quarterback position is his to keep. It's so obvious he's going to get booed off the field by week 2 if he plays, and I'm not really even trying to be negative or a Debbie Downer, but I'm just not excited at all about potentially having to watch Kenny Pickett in a starting role under center in 2025. I'd much rather see one of the rookies out there. And speaking of them, let's talk about Dillon Gabriel. He is a guy that is coming into the NFL off of a very successful collegiate season where he led the Oregon Ducks to a perfect 12-0 regular season record. And even though Shedeur has a big chip on his shoulder for sliding in the draft, I think Dillon has a really big chip on his shoulder right now as well because everyone is ignoring him. The media doesn't care what he does in camp. Nobody is giving him a chance on the outside. Not that it matters though because the coaching staff makes the decisions, but everyone so far is only talking about and covering Shedeur. But there have been a few super unbiased reporters that said Dillon looked great in rookie minicamp and that he has a good mindset about everything and that he left a great first impression on Kevin Stefanski and the rest of the coaching staff. One thing that I think could potentially hold Gabriel back at the NFL level is his size and frame, because the majority of QBs that do go on to win in this league are over 6 feet or even 6'1", but he does have mobility and poise in the pocket. Like Shedeur, he is very accurate and he has more experience and is older. But in terms of the upside, I am completely on the Shedeur hype train because the Browns and Sanders himself have nothing to lose with just rolling him out there and giving him a chance to do something special. Shedeur, his whole collegiate career, just led his team to wins. A lot of times with Travis Hunter, he had to just put the team on his back and make something happen, and he may have to do some of that with the Browns, because even though the Browns have a lot of talent on the roster on paper, they are a losing franchise. They have a bad culture. But remember what Shedeur said before the draft. He said, "Do not pick me if you're not trying to change your franchise, if you're not trying to change the culture." He has full belief in his ability to turn this team around, even as a 5th round pick, and I have read articles that the Browns coaching staff were blown away by some of the throws that Sanders has made so far, with one reporter saying a coach said that he has the touch of a 10-year NFL veteran, which is something that you definitely do not hear every day, that's for sure, unless that article's fake, because there is a lot of fake stuff going around right now just for clicks. I've talked about this before, but I think this season both Shedeur and Dillon should have starting opportunities so the Browns can see what they have. Because of the Travis Hunter trade with pick number 2, the Browns now have nothing to lose. This season truly is a win-win, because if one of the guys ends up performing and the Browns do well and it creates momentum for them, then great. But if the Browns suck and win like 2 games, then also great, because then we could potentially be looking at 2 top 10 picks, which would be nuts. But all in all, I think it's clear what everyone's roles are in my eyes. Kenny Pickett is just there. I hope he gets traded or something. Flacco is the vet with a rubber arm. We know what he can do. Dillon Gabriel was the safe pick. He is a good player with a super high floor, with him being older and having more experience. And then Sanders is the super high ceiling, high potential player that really is the wild card in this whole thing. If we're being honest, he could end up being like DTR, or he could end up being the franchise QB. That's how much of a mystery Shedeur's career in the NFL is at this point, but I'm super excited to watch everything unfold. Let's take a look at what Colin Cowherd said about this Shedeur Sanders situation. I know he's a guy that some people like, but many hates.
So this team's not going to win many games. They didn't love the quarterbacks in this class, so they moved down to get a 2nd pick. They would like to get Arch Manning. The Mannings have a history with Jimmy Haslam, Tennessee guys. So Cleveland's not going to win a lot of games. So the question is, Jimmy Haslam, many believe, forced Andrew Berry and Stefanski to draft Shedeur Sanders. They drafted Dillon Gabriel probably a round or 2 early, hoping to get out of the Shedeur sweepstakes. So the question is, at some point, Haslam's going to come down and say, play Shedeur Sanders, because this is not a great team. So my guess is Joe Flacco wins the starting job. He's the most NFL ready to play. Joe can win you a game or 2.
Alright, that's really all I have to say for this video. Let me know in the comments below who you want to win this Browns quarterback competition. I know a lot of you guys are going to say Shedeur, but please be realistic. Please be unbiased. I just am genuinely curious to hear what you guys are thinking right now. And if you made it to this point in the video and enjoyed, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't, and let me know what you would like to see next. And until then, I will see you all later.